back on this Monday. Well, infertility could have a major impact on a relationship. In a lot of cases, the woman may blame herself, but that might not be the real issue after all. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Tamsin Fidel.
And I'm Erin LeBeau. Now, despite men accounting for nearly half of all fertility problems, infertility is still commonly regarded as a woman's issue. That may leave some men feeling helpless and without purpose. But there are some things that they can do to take action and have a positive impact on conception, pregnancy health, and the baby's long-term health.
Yeah, joining us to break it all down is Ayla Barmmer, a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and functional medicine practitioner. Thanks so much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start off with this question. Is infertility primarily a male or a female problem?
Yes, so this may be surprising for listeners to hear because infertility, as you mentioned in the introduction, is generally viewed as a women's health issue, but in reality, it's equally both. And to put that into perspective with some numbers, 30% of infertility issues are due primarily to male factors, 30% due primarily to female factors, and the remaining 40% is categorized as unexplained infertility, which tends to mean a combination of both male and female factors. So it truly is a shared issue, despite the fact that men are often left out of the equation, or at best, they're simply viewed as having one role, fertilization. So in reality, men's health affects the health of fertility and conceiving, but also the health of the pregnancy and baby's long-term health.
Okay, so does age actually matter for men like it does for women in some cases with fertility?
Yes, so I know women have always heard the age-old saying, the ticking clock, right? And men actually have that as well to some extent. So they do become more at risk for fertility issues as they age, and there can be consequences for both the health of the pregnancy and baby. However, for both women and men, it's less about age and more about the cumulative effect of stressors on the body that happen as we age. So if we think about it in that way, the strategy becomes minimize and compensate for the stressors. And I don't just mean stress in the classical sense, but it also is things like nutrient deficiencies, lifestyle choices, environmental exposures, like pollution, for example. So absolutely, there are things that are out of our control, but what we put into our body and many of our lifestyle choices largely are in our control and can, in a sense, reverse the clock.
Well, let's talk about some of those because we want to know what we can control, right? You have do's and don'ts to share. Let's go ahead and start with the do's, though. What can men do to improve fertility and also the health of the baby?
Yes, I always like to start with the positive, and these are 4 empowering things that men can do. So first and foremost, and put very simply, we want to flood the body with the right stuff to help combat the things that we can't control, such as our age or certain environmental exposures. So top of that list is eating a diet high in antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids. So think fruits, vegetables, seafood, including shellfish, which are actually uniquely high in sperm-supporting nutrients like zinc and selenium. Number 2 is exercising routinely to pump fresh, oxygenated, nutrient-rich blood through the body. And that really helps with good hormone balance and signaling. And then we want to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. That's no surprise, right? And that's ideally as closely in sync as possible with the light and dark cycles, because our circadian rhythms, our internal clocks, are very much tied to our reproductive health. And it's one of the reasons why we see more fertility issues in shift workers.
Wow.
And then lastly, daily supplementation, because we aren't going to be able to do all the things every single day, right? So a high quality supplement like FullWell's Vitality Virility formula can really help fill the gaps and support sperm quality.
All right, well, let's go ahead and break down some of those don'ts. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So here's 3 big don'ts, and I'm big on focusing on the things that are going to have the biggest bang for your buck. So number 1, chemical and heavy metal exposure. I mean, the reality is we're exposed to more environmental chemicals and pollutants today than any other time in history. And so some things to really focus on to reduce that exposure is to swap out fragrance products, which have known hormone disrupting chemicals in them, with more natural options. So think air fresheners, wall plugins, those car air fresheners. We want to just ditch those altogether, or if you have something that's made with just like essential oils, you can try that. That's a little bit safer. Number 2, alcohol, and I'm never anyone's favorite when I mention that one. It isn't popular, but I'm not saying it has to go entirely, but if you think about your partner who won't be drinking throughout a pregnancy, we should ask men to avoid or just greatly reduce their alcohol intake for at least 3 months before trying to conceive. It's going to mean healthier sperm, healthier pregnancy, healthier babies. And then 3, this also won't be a surprise, but smoking. particularly cigarettes. And the thing about sperm is that they are very sensitive to what's called oxidative stress, and cigarette smoking generates a lot of that. So quitting smoking will have a hugely positive impact as well.
I feel like one of the toughest parts is this next one, approaching this conversation of fertility with a partner. How do you go about doing that?
Yes, we just did a big blog series on our blog talking about the conversation starters because it is so difficult. And I think there's the general feeling that men won't be able to handle talking about their fertility health, particularly sperm health. And I actually think we're doing men a huge disservice by assuming that. And the reality is that men just don't know, that their health and lifestyle choices go beyond fertilization and can help reduce pregnancy complications such as miscarriage, preeclampsia, preterm birth, and that their health affects baby's long-term health. So they don't know because we don't talk about it. And I think that women can approach their partners with empowering information, and men will step up. We have, again, a number of blog posts about how to start that, but it's coming at it from an angle of, I learned this, and I just want to share it with you for the health of the pregnancy and our baby's long-term health, rather than a list of things not to do.
Right, and it becomes a team effort, working
Here's your
together.
don'ts list.
Yes, right. That might not work.
Yeah, might not work.
All right, well, Ayla, thank you so much for joining us today and shedding light on this very important topic.
Thank you.